What brought you to today's event?
I am one of the members of the Faith Leaders for Reproductive Justice. We work in partnership with Planned Parenthood to help expand the conversation and remind the world that there are a number of faith leaders who are absolutely 100% in favor of comprehensive sexual education, comprehensive access for contraception, as well as support for all women to have autonomy over their own bodies and have the rights to make decisions for themselves and their future, whether or not they want kids, whether or not they'd like to have more children or not have children, that we as faith leaders believe that these are essential values that are necessary for every person's self-determination and their right to live who they're meant to be as God designed them to be, in the way that they feel is right for them and their families and in accordance with their own faith.
Now, according to your interpretation of the Bible, are there any prohibitions against abortion or is it a blaspheming act? I mean, what the hell is it?
No. So according to Torah, according to Jewish tradition, there's a wonderful expression in the Talmud that says no woman is required to build the world by destroying herself. In Jewish perspective, a fetus is considered a rodfei haguf, a pursuer of the body, and its existence is considered secondary to the life, health, and well-being of the mother. In Jewish law, abortion is absolutely allowed in cases of physical necessity or emotional necessity. So women have the right to say, I don't feel that I can raise another child. I don't feel that I'm ready for this child. Having a child right now is not the right decision for me. Torah and Jewish tradition trust women, and they trust women to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. When you force women to become mothers who aren't emotionally ready or who are already in bad situations or who are just not emotionally prepared to take on the responsibility of caring for another human being, it doesn't lead to a family of wholeness. It leads to abuse, neglect, brokenness, strain, economic trauma, emotional trauma, social trauma. And above all things, Judaism values family. It values human dignity, and it values allowing people to make the choices that are right for themselves in their own relationship between them and God.
So what do we need to do in this society to try to destigmatize abortion?
There are a number of things that we need to do. First and foremost among them, we need to keep pushing back against the lies and the mistruths that are being spread about abortion and the people who are seeking them, as well as contraception and sexual education. We've created a scenario where we have people who are pushing back against comprehensive sexual education, who are pushing back against access to contraception, who are pushing back against access to health care, and then who are at the same time pushing for women being forced to have children that they don't want to have, women being forced to have children that they didn't intend to have because they've had inadequate access to contraception or to sexual education. It's creating a cycle of poverty and dependency for women that makes it impossible for them to have self-determination in their own lives. So we've got to fight against these assumptions. We've got to fight against this patriarchal narrative that seeks to demonize women who may need to have an abortion because of rape or incest, but may also need to have an abortion because they're young in their lives and they're not emotionally or physically prepared to become parents. No woman is required to give birth just because we have the potential to give birth. Nowhere is that written in the human contract. Nowhere is that written in the Bible. So we have an obligation to stand up for women's rights for self-determination. And I think that this is the other part of the conversation that doesn't get enough attention. When women are coerced by a lack of access, by a lack of education, into having children that they didn't intend to have, we're creating cycle after cycle of economic dependency. It means that women don't have the same economic opportunities. It means that they don't have the same educational opportunities. It means that they don't have the same career opportunities. And so it's, whether consciously or inadvertently, creating a second-class status for women where they don't have the full opportunity to figure out who they are before they become a parent. We've really got to be elevating this and talking about what reproductive justice means. For us, we call it reproductive justice because it's not just about whether or not there's access to abortion. It's also about what are we doing to ensure that women have the autonomy, the dignity, the freedom to have access to comprehensive health care, to have trust that they have good intentions, good hearts, good minds, and good souls, and that they know what's best for them, their families, and their bodies. And to allow women the dignity of figuring out who they want to be before we force them into becoming a parent because they had sex, or becoming a stigmatized woman because they had sex. No one is forcing the men to live with the consequence of sexual activity between men and women that leads to pregnancy. And so this is a huge part of what we need to be doing, is addressing the patriarchal nature of this conversation.